Bright Suns and Rising Moons, fellow droids. This is another episode of Not the Droids Pod. I'm Mayuri,
I'm Danny.
and today we are going to be talking about episodes 17 and 18. Um, Episode 17 is Stuck in the Muck and Junkyard Sleepover, and episode 18 is The Great Leaf Glide and the Harvest Feast.
So before we get into these episodes, we want to remind you to come join us over on Fable as we talk about the episodes and they're broken down by each episode so you can really join in and not be spoiled for future things. We will be using Fable for the life of our podcast. Just because it is a fun, easy way to communicate with each other. We will actually also be dropping, like, if we're, especially specifically Skeleton Crew, we will tell you that when it drops on Tuesday, we will be on the Fable commenting live as we watch. So we invite you
Yeah.
to join us on there. You can find all the links on our Instagram page, which is at Not the Droids Pod. So these episodes, episode 17 released, there was some confusion on this one because it had a December date, but I think it was wrong. So I'm going with that it was released November 8th on Disney Plus and Disney Junior. And then episode 18 was released on Disney Plus November 8th and Disney Junior November 17th. Because that seems to track more, but there was a little bit of confusion
With
online.
like the dates from the last episode to the
Yeah,
next.
17 was said that it released on Disney Junior December 8th, but that didn't make sense with an 18 release November 17th, so I think they meant November 8th.
Yeah, that would make sense.
So stuck in the muck. We have a lot of new
I
friends.
There were so many new friends. I will say in this like grouping of episodes, in the last one, we were like, oh, we didn't really get new places or things like that. And I was just like, we started off on a they were super pumped about doing the Starlight Beacon space station, which was so funny, which like Kai's such a nerd and I loved that for him. And every time he had the communicator thing and it came up with a hollow, and I was like, oh, he's so pumped.
We get you,
Um,
Kai. We get you.
yeah. And I
Um,
love
do the kids look older to you?
they look a little bit
They
older.
look like they have aged a little. I was
I
like,
kind of
hmm.
like that
Yeah, I
though.
did too, but it took me a minute. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to ask because I
And
feel
I
like
can't
they
tell if it's
look a
like they're just
little
like
older.
I feel like they're like a little bit taller and or maybe something like and their hair is maybe a
Something's
little bit longer.
different, and I'm
Something's
going
different.
with they have aged just a hair.
Yeah, I
They seemed a little
enjoy.
more mature too.
I think that the way that they're approaching problems, like they are actually maturing, and I feel like
Yes.
we finally gotten to the point because like we're 17 episodes in, like it's I would say time-wise, it's got to be at least months since we
Yeah.
first started,
Yes.
right? Like there's no like appropriate passage of time.
No.
So I feel like it was nice, and I feel like they're getting tasks, which was nice. So like before they
Hmm.
go to the space station, like Master Zia is like, I need you to bring the gift. Like go out, find the gift and bring it.
Yeah.
Which they didn't really get in the beginning. They were just like sent on
They're like, go get
missions.
this thing, do this thing. Like they had specific directives where this is like, this is what you need to do, but you need to figure out how to do it.
Yeah. So it was kind of nice. And then so they're going, they find their sapling. Kai's super excited, and then they get a distress call and from the Galgero planet. Is that what it's
I
that's what
believe
I have
so. I
written.
had missed the planet name.
Yeah, and I think like Nash knew it from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I like that there was like a little more like a quandary for Kai because he was like, "Oh, I really don't want to be
Like,
late."
I'm really excited for this. Do we have to stop?
And of course, they're Jedi.
Yeah.
So they help everybody. So they had to stop. And I do enjoy that again, Nash volunteered to watch the ship,
Yes.
not just leaving RJ. And I was like, I think Nash has finally learned her lesson
And
that
also has
like,
learned her job. It's not even like necessarily a
yes.
lesson. I am the pilot. My job is to get us out of here.
Yeah. Well, so it's just like I think she's finally learned that like being the pilot is still being part of the team.
Yes.
They're like the plan B.
It made me think of Star
So
Trek. You just said that. I was like, oh, it's like that Star Trek episode where the one girl is always like, I'm just the pilot. I just pilot the ship. And she just felt like that because I believe it was Ortega. And like there's this whole it's the musical episode, which is one of my favorites, but she's just like, oh, I finally get to go on a mission, and then they pulled her off the mission. She's like, I'm just the pilot. But at the end she realizes she's like, I'm the pilot.
yeah,
So it kind of had it feels like those like little vibes where she like is realizing the importance of her task.
yeah, no, which is great. Um, I didn't know if you caught it, but when they obviously assumed the scary people were like pirates,
Chig.
and
So we have Chig and we have so bad I can't read my own handwriting. It's like Stamos or Stavros or
no, I think it was Stamo.
Stamo. I my handwriting's awful. It's
I
not
mean, sometimes
usually,
my
but
problem is I take notes in my phone, and sometimes the autocorrect gets it before I do, and then I'm looking at
yeah.
the notes back, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Um, yeah, I think we got some of their names, but my favorite is like when they're like, "Oh no, the Jedi," and then they were like, "Kids?" And I think that's the first time, like in a confrontation, that the fact that they're children has been called out.
Yes.
That they were like, "Oh, we're really scared of the Jedi, but these are children, so like,
Mhm.
what?"
Can we make note? Nubs is strong.
Yes,
He
I
was
wrote
holding the
carrying the
thing.
case.
We got
His super
multiple,
strength is
this set
back.
of episodes, we got multiple strong nubs.
Yeah, I feel like they maybe remembered that that's his strong suit.
Yeah. They're like, oh, they're
Um,
getting older. Oh, we forgot. Nubs is really strong.
but I did also call that out because I was like, "Oh, it seems like his super strength is back."
Yeah.
Um, which is fun. And I we keep calling out like, "Oh, I guess it's not here anymore," like this, that, and whatever. But I was nice to see them back, and it was nice to see like the kids holding their own.
Yes.
But it's kind of like a little bit of a lesson because like they jumped in without even trying to assess the
Oh,
situation.
nope. They just assume pirates bad. This is not their stuff. They're stealing it. But then we have Nash who runs into Chig and was like, hey, friend.
I remember you. Um,
Yeah, we're not pirating because you were so nice to us.
I know, isn't that great?
So
Like, and
now
you
we've
see,
become harvesters to find rare fruits across the galaxy.
I thought
Love
that
it.
was so cute. And
Love it.
I also like that you see like a little bit of the impact, right? Like where like Jedi helped them out, that they made them rethink their
Yes. They
approach
realized there was
to,
another way.
yeah, there is another way. But I do love where he's like, it doesn't look like your friends are trying to help.
Yeah, he's like, "Are you sure?"
I
And but
think,
it is nice. All of the Jedi friends listened to Nash when she was like, "Yo, stop!
yeah,
Like,
which was nice.
this is not the thing we're
Um,
doing."
no, it was. I will say, like, watching the next part, I was just like, why don't they just use the Crimson Firehawk to unstuck the ship?
Did not think all that through. They like completely forgot they had another ship. I
That's
will
why I was
say,
like,
go RJ, doing his best, holding his own, pushing
oh
that
yeah,
ship.
lifting.
These
I thought
little
it was so funny. I was like, he's so tiny, and he's just like, let's
um
push it.
and we also get reiterated that Kai is just like 1, 2, 3, go, and all of his friends are like, "What?
Wait,
We don't.
because
That's not
he's
how fast we count
trying.
to three." Like,
No, but also like he's trying to do it quickly. I will say he doesn't often call himself out before someone else does. So
yes,
it was kind of nice to see Kai taking ownership, like, oh, this was my fault
yeah, this
because
was on me because I
yeah,
was in a rush.
I was in a rush and I wasn't careful. And I think what ended up happening is like they pushed too hard with the force.
Yes.
And they
Well, it was
slid
like too
back.
much power across the board because no one like communicated
No
with each
one
other.
tempered it. Yeah.
Yeah. But
I
then they used the
will,
fire hawk.
which was great. But before they use the Firehawk, I just want to call out that we have finally approached the scariest creature I think we've encountered on Young Jedi
It has no
Adventures.
name.
It has no name. It kind of felt like a spider with tentacles
Yeah.
that liked fruit, obviously, because
Who
who
doesn't?
wouldn't? But I was just like, I think this is the first time that I was kind of taken aback and I was like, oh, that creature is creepy.
He's scary.
But yeah, and I love when they did decide to use the Firehawk, they were like, oh, we have a tow cable. I was like, why didn't you remember that before,
Yeah, and it
Nash?
took Nash being like, I'm so glad I didn't park in the mud.
Like, but they're children, whatever. But that's why I was just like, this is where sometimes kid shows get to me
Yeah.
because I know we're living in kid universe and we can't like do things too harshly, but like there are certain things that even in kid universe,
But
I'm
it
just like,
still like makes sense because the point of this was to show that they were rushing and not thinking through.
that's true.
That
That is
not using
true.
the fire, like if they would have just used that, there wouldn't have been a problem to solve.
Yeah.
And so
And
they
then I
created the problem first and solved the problem.
that's true.
So had they
That's
stopped and like talked to each other, they probably would have gone
would
Firehawk.
you say that's the lesson in this episode then?
The lesson I got based on a quote, I think that is the lesson, but the message I got was we all make mistakes. What matters is we don't give up.
Yes. My thing, so I didn't like call out a quote for a lesson, but I think like the overall lesson is that like don't rush
Yes.
um because you'll make mistakes.
Which seems to be like the lesson of this season is breathe, patience, take your time, help everyone. And
Yeah.
then all of our previous pirate friends also want to see Starlight Beacon.
I love that Kai has turned into the friend that invites people to the party without asking. It's like, you know what? Yeah, you
How
should
about
come
today?
too. Let's just go. Let's just all go
And
to the
meet Master
party.
Maru.
That was kind of
Um,
nice. I like
um,
that we're getting to meet different masters
yes.
around the galaxy. And again, it's like we've called this out, but like this time period in like the Empire and the galaxy's history is when it was like filled with Jedi and people knew the Jedi, counted on them,
Yes.
and like they were very much part of society.
Yes. And then, like, what Master Maru said about Starlight Beacon, I was like, oh, it's like our podcast. Starlight Beacon was built to help and connect people. We're not necessarily helping people, except we are helping you get through the Star Wars universe chronologically. But we want to connect people. And I was like, oh, that's so cute. I feel like I relate to Starlight Beacon. We are our own Starlight Beacon.
I also had a thought that like, is this something that we ever see in the future of Star Wars or like a version of it? Yeah, because like sometimes I think like when they're talking about certain technology ships that are meant to last, I would be curious to see if they're pulling that because it's something in the later movies and content that they are just calling out to.
Mm.
But
Starlight Beacon. This station will be a symbol of the Republic in the Outer Rim, a place where we will celebrate our union and help each other to make and grow. What was the Starlight Beacon? A symbol of hope and unity. It sounds like it was definitely in other things. Ooh, yeah. I'm not going to tell you what happens to Starlight Beacon, but
oh, okay, but it is something that maybe they called out because we see it later
yes. Yes, so Starlight Beacon is like known in the
in the
universe. It looks
galaxy.
like it may have been like the name changes slightly to like Starlight Station or something.
Yeah. Well, technically it's Starlight Beacon Space Station, so I
So
wonder
it's
if
a
it just got
Starlight
like
Station.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that makes sense then. Because like
Yes.
that's where I'm just like when they're launching something so permanent, I guess. I want like I was thinking like they must have pulled from current like actual Star Wars content. And it's kind of nice to see like, oh, this is the beginning of that because this is the era of
Don't look
like
that up if you don't want spoilers, my
I
friends.
won't. Did you spoil yourself? Yes.
I may have known and not realized it was Starlight Beacon, but
Okay.
we'll leave it at that.
um but yeah, and I did in the so like rolling into this next episode, I liked that they went to a different planet and then the next episode was like anchored in onto new. Um so it's like you get a breather.
He
They
has
do
amazing earrings.
well, she's a sculptor.
I know,
So it would
but
make sense that she like her glasses
she
are
has like
awesome
little bat
too.
ears and she has her little ring, and they're so cute.
I thought it was so funny how they started this episode like it was a horror movie.
Yes.
I was like,
Yes.
oh no, there's a sound in the night. Um,
And it's dark out, and poor JG is like terrified. I'm like, JG, you're bigger than this whole
I
place.
know Chi is a massive droid, and it's like, did you love
Bull in
how
a
it
tiny
pulled?
china shop. That is what JG is a bull in a china shop.
I loved that, like, to defend itself, it pulled the like flower sculpture like it was a bat. It was
Yes.
just like carrying around this cute flower around this junkyard, and it was just like, you just
But
look
I love that
adorable.
JG's doing well.
Yes, he has grown. Um, and they keep each other company.
And so our friends
But
decide to come help with a sleepover.
yes, I like one, first of all, that they had to get permission from Master Sia.
Yes, and it was
And I was
approved.
like, I like that they called that out in the episode because sometimes they're doing stuff and you're like, do the adults in your life know that you're
Mhm.
doing this?
Yes.
And so it was nice to see that they got permission, and it was cute that they were like around the campfire telling scary stories.
Yes. Nubs jumped in someone else's lap again.
Nubs is the biggest scaredy cat, which I think is
He's so cute.
hilarious.
He's
Every
so cute.
episode, it's like I'm scared. Like the one in the opal mines, like he's scared.
Did you see that on his lightsaber? He has little leaves tied to it. It was
Yeah, I
really
thought that was cute when they found his lightsaber on the ground, and I was like, oh, that's adorable. I like that he made that.
I did.
Um, I did call out, where is RJ in this episode?
Maybe since it's on Tanu, they didn't actually fly. And so
But do
RJ's
they
back with the ship. I feel like, and I understand, like maybe they didn't bring RJ because maybe they would have connected that it's a droid quicker if RJ was there.
that's true because like RJ would be able to
RJ's
talk
a
to
droid
it,
and be
I
like, that's a
guess.
broken droid. I
Yeah,
mean, I
I'm
knew
not
what it
sure.
was. And as I was watching our Gloomling, that's what it's called, I kept going,
Oh,
I
I
bet he
knew.
looks like Dio. I
Oh, I
bet
couldn't tell
the
at
way he
first.
moved, I'm like, he has the same type of form of Dio in a way.
I couldn't tell at first, but as time went on, and I know that Dio is your favorite, so I've looked up what it looks like. And so I was like, this kind of looks like that, but I could clock that it was a droid from the beginning.
Yes.
The one thing I thought was funny that I didn't quite realize is that Nash is like fluent in droid
Hmm.
and like nobody else is. And I was like, wouldn't Marla be fluent in droid? Like she's in a junkyard.
Marva should be.
Like she talks to JG.
But also, the droid was right next to Nash, so maybe it wasn't that they all didn't understand,
And maybe it's just like Nash was
but
there.
it was just like since Nash was right there, you need someone to translate droid for all the people watching the show.
That's true.
So rather than going, "Oh, okay, we'll fix you," it'll be like, "Oh, he said," just to like, it's like
Yeah.
Whovian. Sometimes you have to be like, "Let's translate this."
Like I wish we could translate, but it was funny because like in
Mm.
the moment I was like, do we have a name? And then it cut to the next scene where the droid was much cleaner and shinier.
PT3.
PT3. Um, which I wish we saw like the process of naming it PT3,
Or
but
that his name was already
oh,
PT3.
that's true because he was an abandoned
He was a
droid.
yeah, he was abandoned, so he may have already had a name.
But it was nice to finally meet a new droid because I don't think we've met one
And what is our lesson of the show?
of this one. I don't think I clocked a lesson other than maybe things aren't what they seem.
I went with push through your scared feelings.
That's a good
Everyone was
one.
afraid. Like everyone in this episode was scared.
Yeah.
And I think it was even Kai that pointed out that being scared was actually causing more problems than not.
Yes, because there was a moment where JG, the giant clumsy bull, literally leveled
Dominoes.
Domino's, the junkyard. My favorite is like Marla's such a hoarder. She's like, oh no, my
My
perfectly
organized junk.
organized piles of junk. And I was like, I don't know that I have felt more seen by a Star Wars character in my life.
All right, let's head into episode 18, the Great Leaf Glide.
So hard to say that.
Well, it looked like Glade on my thing. I'm like, that's the wrong word.
I liked I like it's kind of nice that we're getting to see that the young Jedi are learning about different planets and cultures and stuff, which is part of
Yes.
their education.
Which is
We
literally
saw,
what Master Zia says.
yeah,
They're on Condoran. Condoran.
Condoran,
Condoran.
Condoran. Yeah. And we get some of the young Jedi that we know, background characters. So
And they
Frankenstein,
had lines, but no names.
still no names. I was like watching the subtitles and I was like, they actually spoke. They actually spoke,
Hmm.
but they didn't have names. But we
No
did
name.
have a couple of new ones, and then we had Frankenstein Kid, and
And
then
there's
like
no Jovi though.
two, no Jovi, but we did get the bubble hair girl.
Hmm.
And then two other ones. So maybe it's just like there's different levels of youngling, and like
Yeah.
they're all going on different tasks and
Want
stuff at
some
different
names.
times.
I want some names.
I know. I really want a name here or there. It would have been nice if we saw Jovi, but then I don't know. I did love
Rick
that they're,
Stagano.
yeah, Rick Stagano, the surfer dude.
I loved it.
I was
Go with the
just like,
flow.
go with the flow, surfer dude. That's actually what I wrote as like the general lesson for this episode was go with the flow.
Yeah. We
But I
meet some
like
chiffons that look like fish.
blowfish swimming in the sky.
They're a little puffer fishy.
Yeah, like maybe yeah. But I just like wrote flying. But I love that Kai's impatient yet again. We
Hmm.
saw this when they were learning how to fly. Remember where he was like,
He
I
is an
got
adrenaline
this.
junkie and just wants to do.
Yeah. But, and it's, so here's the thing where it's just like, listen, Kai both this time didn't listen to Nubs when he was like, I don't think
Yeah.
this is a smart idea. This is my interpretation of Pubian.
Yeah.
Where they were like, oh, we want to go to the
Nubs is
chiffons.
Samwise. He approaches with caution.
He approaches with caution, but they ignored him. And I'm usually Liz is not
She's
that, but
more
I wonder if it's because it was a creature that,
the creature. She was having fun, like more the adrenaline side, whereas Nubs more earthly.
yeah, he's more plant like earth based.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's where I'm just like, it had to happen where they were going against the wind. And of course, forgot that the sails that they're flying are leaves.
Yeah.
They're just broadleaves from the broadleaf trees or whatever.
You know,
And
you
so
got the right name.
and they got shredded and then they landed in a desert. And I was like, why is there a desert here out of nowhere? I thought it was just trees.
I feel like it's a more sky-based planet because it's a platform.
Yeah.
So they use their capes to fix their leaves.
Eventually, though.
Eventually, yeah, they went through a lot of trial and error on how to get
I
home.
did like that like the surfer things, the skiffs. I don't know what we
Hmm.
call them. What are they called again?
They were
Ticka ticka ticka.
gliders.
The gliders, oh, sky skimming board turned
That
into a
too.
skateboard
Yeah.
and they were just like skateboarding along the desert. Um, but I will say Kai, before he came up with a brilliant solution, still messed things up for them. And if I was his friend at that point, like, I don't know that I would have the patience to not blame him and be like, calm down, dude. Like, you're the one who's causing almost all the problems
Yes.
today.
Yeah. And
We
poor Nubs is just like, if you would have just listened to
listen to
me,
me.
go
But
with the
like
flow,
a
follow
lot
the
of the times when they
wind.
were talking
And
about
that
the
might
listen,
be Nubs being his plant-based self. He's like, you just kind of we've seen Nubs meditate, like, and
I
Kai's
think
just like,
Nubs is more in touch with like that kind of nature side of being a Jedi,
yes,
maybe. But again, I would have lost my mind when Kai was talking about we need to do better. I'm like, we
we followed your lead.
don't need to do anything. It's you.
And
Um,
instead of listening to Rick Stagano, telling us to just go work with the wind, not against it.
Yeah, but that's why I was like, the lesson I heard for the lesson was go with the flow, basically.
Yeah, I went with work with the wind because that's what they were saying.
Saying,
And
yeah,
patience.
be patient.
Again.
We finally saw the adults being a little bit worried because, like, you're
Yes.
watching this whole episode and you're just like, are they not going to send someone
Hmm.
after these
They were
three
about
children?
to.
So it was finally nice to be like, oh, I was about to send Rick Stegano after you. Rick's Tegano.
Tagano. I just like saying it like he's a dude, like Rick's
Rick
Tagano.
Stegano. But yeah,
Surfer
so I
extraordinaire. Rune Dannon. It has that vibe.
it does have that vibe. I still love that, like, everyone's like, oh, what finally got you reading into SJM? And for me, it was the Rune Dannon audio that I kept hearing. And so I was like, if I have to read 15 books to understand why this is fun, I'm in. And that's
Can't,
literally why I started.
can't wait till our friends meet Rune Dannon.
Rune Dannon. I love him so much.
Can you say the whole line?
Oh yeah. Crown Prince of the Valbaran Fae. And then the song. I love the audio.
Let's move
Then
on to Harvest Field.
yes. This
Nubs is
was
strong.
yeah, Nubs is strong again. This was on planet Omaka.
Yep. It's
Um,
Dunkutu Day
yes, we're celebrating Dankutu Day.
with
Um,
Tay, Grandpa Roog,
and
Fiorna,
Fiorna and the other
A1,
townspeople.
A2, AG 1 through 3.
Yeah, AG 1 through 3.
I'm deciding that
Um,
name was created because of agriculture.
I was just gonna say that I feel like they're agriculture droids, so I feel
Yes.
like AG 1, 2, and 3 makes sense.
Yes.
I did like that they have these giant veggie that are literally called gom gourds.
Yes.
Um,
They're
and I like
huge.
that they're huge and they're struggling, but like Dubs is strong, so he's like just strong enough to like
Yeah,
help
so
make
it's
it
taking two
easier.
people to move the others, but it takes Nubs one. So he's like
Yeah,
double strength everyone.
yeah, I think that we can kind of
But
clock
then Nubs
that.
also pulls them up a cliff.
That's true. So like when the AG was falling off the cliff and Kai went, and I was like, Kai's not doesn't have the body mass for this.
Then Liz grabs Kai.
And
And
they're
then
still
Nubs just grabs
sliding,
them all and he's like, "Whoo,
pulls them back off the ledge. I'm like, right, that get it,
go
Gore.
Nubs."
Literally,
So Fiorna wants Grandpa to come to the festival, but Grandpa and Dad had a fight last year at the festival
which I think is just stubborn older people. Like they weren't listening to each other. They got into a fight
and not
and
explaining what their problem actually was.
instead of talking about this. And I was just like, I feel like it should have been obvious that
And
to
then
the
they weren't going to do
dad,
it again. And then the kids had to be like, hey, this is what your grandfather told me.
yeah. But that's why it's just like I feel like the adults should have been able to talk, like figure it out on their own. Especially with the dad getting older, like the son should have maybe inferred that he was having some trouble. Like why
Using
else
a
would he use
cane.
droids? Yeah, like why else would he have droids?
I did
Because he
enjoy
can't.
Fiorna a lot.
I liked her. Um their use of the force was really nice, like when she was stuck under the
Yeah,
table.
lifting the droid.
The droid was, I don't know, tap dancing, stomping on veggies on the table. Um, and as usual, that is what brought the adults together.
Yes.
But for me, my general lesson, which is maybe not the lesson of the episode, was just like pride is like a pretty much a sin. Like this all happened because they were all too proud
Yeah.
to like say they were
Communication. We're
wrong,
going with
communicate.
communication. I don't
Yeah.
have any quote listed down. I just have Nubs is strong.
I did put down a quote where they said, what good are traditions if they can't include everybody,
I like
which I
that.
thought was kind of a nice call out,
Yes.
especially like in the world we live in
Yes,
with
very much.
like disabilities and like people's abilities changing. And I think it calls it out to like this kind of farming culture this planet has.
Well, it's
Um,
also like the conversation is technology versus handmade, and like the tradition of doing something by hand when tools have been created to help,
yeah,
and
because it
how
was
you integrate those tools.
to support your traditions as opposed to replacing them.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I liked that a lot. It was a cutesy episode. I don't think it like really called out any of the young Jedi,
No.
which was kind of nice.
Who wins
Um,
these episodes are
who
set.
I want to go, I don't know, to be honest. I feel like
A
I
lot of
like
teamwork. Kai caused a bunch of issues here. Liz caused some issues.
I want to go
Nubs
as
didn't cause
Nubs.
issues, but Nubs also wasn't like the problem solver. So I don't know if there's any one person. I'm giving it to RJ,
Who was barely in these
but I'm giving it to RJ. He did
for
his, when he was in these, he did his best. He tried to push a ship, but his little arms.
its little hands. Um, See, I would kind of maybe give it to Nubs
Nubs had some good
because
moments.
he
He had
had
some
good
strong moments.
moments, and I think he's very much becoming like the anchor of the team,
Yes.
right? Like he's not very appreciated day to day, but like at the end of the day, like they can count on him to
Yes.
like really make them think. But yeah, I would say outside of that, none of these guys actually really like won these episodes. In
No.
terms of villains, there were actually no villains.
No.
We didn't
It
get a
was like,
single villain.
no, we had some new droids. I think PJ3 will win over the ag droids because the ag droids were all a mess.
Crazy. They were
I hope they get
crazy.
someone. I hope they call Marla and be like, Marla, Grandpa Roog needs some help because his droids are
Well, but at the
malfunctioning.
same time, they were malfunctioning because they were burnt out. They were overworked and
They
burnt
were
out.
overworked, but also Grandpa made them himself.
That's true. So he needs a little
And then
bit of a
afterwards, they all enjoy a meal, and Nubs is the happiest hobbit there ever could be.
literally anytime they eat anything, Nubs is like, yes. I don't know if it was in this round of episodes, but in the last round where like Kai abandoned his plate of like space tacos, it looked like, and
Yeah.
Nubs ate his food and Kai's food. He was like, oh,
Mhm.
he left. This food is
Well,
mine.
but then in this one, they were like, Nubs was like, I could eat the whole thing. They're like, really? He's like, yeah,
Yes. I'm
yeah.
like, you've
I
known
have
Nubs for
super
how long?
strength. I need the carbs, man. And even though
Yeah,
there's not really carbs because it's fruit and vegetables.
yeah, no. I think it's funny. But maybe there is carbs in the fruit. You never know. It was just
I don't
like
know.
squishy purple
It
insides.
could
We
be
don't really
similar to an
know.
avocado
That's true. That is true.
or a potato.
Um, yeah, I think so. But PT3 was nice. I still like think the droids are lackluster, but maybe it's because like they were so droid heavy in the beginning
Yeah.
that
Well,
it
because they're
is,
still like barely side characters. Like
yeah,
PT3, we didn't figure out until the end of the episode.
that's true. But it is nice.
And JG was just all over the place.
Oh my God. It was really funny to see JG how he's developed
He's very
and
Iron Giant.
become, yeah, so sweet, so
Very
sweet
sweet. He's very sweet and kind, but he is very scared.
and clumsy,
Yeah.
falling all over the place. Um,
It was a
but
fun set.
I thought it was
I
a
wouldn't
fun
say it
set.
was like a strong set, but it was a fun set.
It was a fun, lighthearted set. I think we're getting closer to the end of the season, so
Yeah. I
I'm
think
wondering
Stuck
if
in the
it's
Muck was probably the strongest episode of these.
of these four. Yeah. They actually learned something, went through something. I
Hmm.
agree. Second the Muck was the most interesting of them all. I will say I am pumped because the next set of episodes includes the Young Jedi Adventure Life Day episode.
If you have
At
questions, comments, want to be a guest, have anything to add to the conversation, notthedroidspod@gmail.com.
Yes. Please contact us, especially if there's anything specific that you feel strongly about. We want to hear about it.
And if there's anything you
Um,
want us to cover,
yeah. Um, and as we're kind of wrapping up, as always, we're not the droids you're looking for.
but we're the droids you're going to get.